It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Brouhaha time. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee at it again. Dale, you've been out on the road a little bit, scouting around, seeing what's going on in the world of sports, or any particular thing that might be close to your heart athletically you want to share with us?
Well, we went to the Houston area. You ever heard of the Woodlands? It's a pretty nice place.
I have heard of that.
Pretty nice place out there, you know.
I wouldn't know. I've just heard of it. They won't let me in.
Well, yeah, it's kind of high rent district for sure. But we went down there to see the granddaughter. They live in the Frisco area, north of Dallas, and so she went to state competition. She qualified for that.
In what?
Well, she qualified in all the four.
What sport is it?
It's gymnastics.
Gymnastics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
She qualified in all of the events?
Yeah, all four of them. And so, anyway, she's qualified for all four in the regionals up in Denver in a couple weeks. So we're very proud of her. She did really her best performance probably her, I guess, all-time high in the beam was this weekend's 9.6. They did it at the home gym of a girl named Simone Biles. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
Never heard of her.
But they had pictures all over there. But anyway, it was a great venue to have something, and it was an enjoyable weekend for the family.
Yeah, that's great. How old is this
She's
athlete?
She's 14.
14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I know we've talked about this in the past, and you told me, and I think we might have talked about it on the show a couple of years ago about you and your wife. It's impressed me, Dale. Going to Alabama to watch gymnastics that she wasn't even involved in, so that you would understand the sport better. That's pretty impressive.
Well, you like to carry on conversation with your grandchildren.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she knows all the girls from LSU to Florida. She loves Oklahoma, so she knows all the girls up there.
Yeah.
So on Friday nights, I don't know if you know it, I think most of the time in January and February they have what they call Friday night for girls or women or something like that. But anyway, it's gymnastics the whole night, and it's usually SEC. I mean, usually that's what you do.
Right.
But she's been able to the last couple of years. They've had what they call, their like in basketball, Final Four. But I think it's a Final Eight.
Okay.
They've competed in Fort Worth, so she's been able to go to.
Well, that's pretty handy too.
Yeah, she's been able to go down to the NCAA tournament down there both years, and 1 year Oklahoma won, and she's excited about that. Yeah. That's kind of her school right now as far as where she'd love to go. But you know what? We just like her where she's at right now. We don't want her to grow any older.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's a special time, and I really respect what you're doing and the way you teach yourself about the sport and everything. I've watched a lot of gymnastics through the years.
Well, I'm not the only one in my family. I think my wife is more dedicated than I am to it. You know, I mean, I like it and I enjoy being part of her life, but my wife maybe. I don't know how she could be, but she may be a bigger fan than I am.
Okay.
But anyway.
Good stuff, man.
But that's not the only thing that she's good at. She's good at a lot of different things. But gymnastics is her key right now.
Well, I'm the antithesis of that. I'm not good at anything. So I mean, for every yin there's a yang, or what was it? For every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. That's Newton's first law, wasn't it, or something like that?
Well, I was reading something, and I'm hoping we're not boring people tonight with our conversations. But Charles Barkley came up with something that said when he goes into schools to talk or different for youngsters, the first thing they ask him, what kind of car you got? How big is your house? And he says, he tries to tell kids, not everybody's going to have a lot of money. Not everybody's going to be rich. Not everybody's going to live in a big house, have a fancy car. But you can be the best at what you do. You can be the best garbage man. You can be the best teacher, ever what you want to be in life. But you can be the best at it. And you don't have to, he said kids that he goes to see at some of the schools, they're just kind of like, they think athletics is the only way out, and it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it really dooms them after that.
Well, that's about as hard a way. It's only like 1%, less than 2% of high school athletes make it at the collegiate level. So,
we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
I had a friend that knew Evel Knievel.
yeah.
And the guy, my friend who was from Laurel, asked Evel. He said, "Evel, you're just kind of weird, unusual. You're the only one of the few people in the world that would even attempt this.
Yeah.
What you're doing." And Evel said, "Well, you're weird." And he said, "How's that?" He said, "Well, you're a Major League Baseball player. How many are there in the world?"
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you. Yeah, that's here's something. It's different, but it's the same. You're talking about putting things into perspective.
Yeah.
What amount of money? I saw this. It's got on the internet. It's got to be true. All right. So, what amount of money would you have to make a year to be in the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world? What would your annual net income have to be for you to be in the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world?
Lord have mercy. I don't know. I'm seeing these guys with $4.5 billion. I don't know. That's I don't know. 45 billion a year.
The number I got was 32,000. Think about how many people in the world ain't got nothing. So if you make 32,000, you're in the 1% of the richest people in the world, Dale. Does that change your perspective on things?
I guess I was thinking of it from the other end.
You was thinking about all the rich folks. You wasn't thinking about the normal folks like me.
Yeah.
You was thinking about folks like yourself. There's poor folks you got to count in here too.
Poor folks.
But anyway, you think about that. I mean, it really affected me. You think about it. It makes you really thankful for what you got.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of being thankful for what we got a guest tonight, don't we?
We sure do.
And will you know his name or her name?
Yeah.
I'm being sexist. Do you know our guest's name?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Do you want me to tell it to you?
Yes.
All right. The gender is male.
Male. Okay.
All right. Anything else? You
Probably makes more than. No, let's don't even get off of that. So.
I hope he doesn't make more. I don't want to hear it from him.
Okay.
I don't want to hear it from him.
He's a male. What else did that do? Can't see that.
His name is Shawn Wansley.
Him.
He is the former sports editor of the Laurel Leader-Call when it was a daily newspaper. He's right now been for, I don't know, probably the last, I would say at least 15 years he's been down at Jones Junior College doing the sports information director's job.
Okay.
So,
we've had him on here once before.
yeah, and Shawn,
really good guy.
Shawn keeps up with this NCAA basketball like almost like a religion there.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break to hear from our sponsor, and we come back. We'll be having tonight's guest with us, Shawn Wansley, right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Shawn Wansley. Shawn, we thank you again for being on the show. I know we're going to talk about a little bit about NCAA basketball today. I know that you love the tournament. You've loved it for several years. You've not always made the right selections in your picking, and this year it's probably a little bit easier because it seems like all the bloodhounds are still playing. It seems like it, except for a couple Ole Miss teams. But anyway, but before we get into that, big news coming out of Hattiesburg over the weekend. They've got a new ladies basketball coach to replace Jolie McNeilis, who had to retire because of medical issues. And you're very familiar with this person, so why don't you tell us a little bit about her, as far as your relationship with her and what great success she had on the high school level and at Jones Junior College before she is going to take over the USM program.
Yeah, Missy Builderback returning back to the area. Coach Bilderback, a lot of success at Presbyterian Christian School, and parlayed that into coming to Jones several years ago, I believe about 2016, if I can remember off the top of my head. Enormous success at Jones. I believe, 7 straight national tournament appearances,
Wow.
conference championships, Region 23 championships. She just did a great job at Jones recruiting. She established relationships with the senior colleges and really was able to get a lot of, I guess you'd call them bounce back players from senior colleges and D1 colleges, and really boosted the talent level at Jones and in the conference. I mean, there were several years where she totally dominated the conference so much that there were people saying, well, the players probably got more workout going against each other in practice than they did in the actual games. But she did a great job. She used that to go to Louisiana Monroe a couple of years ago, won a bunch of games up there. And I think always in the back of our mind, in the back of a lot of people's minds, that Southern Miss would be a destination job for her. And when Coach Joy Lee McNeilis, had her health issues the last couple of years, I think Coach Bilderback's name really came to the forefront. And it didn't take long for them to hire her. I think they only did a search for a couple of weeks, to be honest with you, and announced her. Word came out yesterday, and I think she'll do a great job. She will get some players there, and I think she put a lot of people in the seats too. That's going to be a big deal right there. Just getting fans to show up at the games. Being a native of this area, so familiar with Hattiesburg, and I think Southern Miss can do some great things with Coach Bilderback taking over the head coaching job.
Well, we're sure very supportive of her, and we hope she has to do best. I saw somebody interesting. I know this is kind of a sideway before the bracket, but I saw something that Lance Poe was leaving Columbia High School to go to Brandon High School as a new head coach. And the first thing in our mind was, I wonder if Missy's husband, Chip Belterback, would come back to Columbia. That would be kind of a, you're over there in Louisiana for just a year, and then boom, you're right back at the old school you were at. But that would be kind of, I guess, funny. But I mean, it could happen, I suppose.
Yeah, that was mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago. They thought that Lance Pogue was leaving or had left Columbia, and I assumed Chip would be interested in that job, but I don't know. Yeah, I think he has a lot of options as well, but he had great success there, so he'd be very familiar, and I'm sure he would do a great job if he chose to go back to Columbia.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the tournament so far. What's the most interesting game to you so far out of all the games that's been played since the play-in games?
Well, like you said earlier, it's been mostly favorites winning. I think the first day or first 2 days, the first round actually, the first 32 games, I believe 25 favorites won. And then I think kind of held true a little bit over the weekend. We've only had the one buzzer beater so far, and that was Maryland winning against Colorado State, and half people say the guy walked on the shot, and half said he didn't. So, I guess that's the closest.
He took 3 steps. Is that a walk?
Yeah,
It's a walk.
They don't call it. 30 years ago, it was a walk.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
Now it's not, right? I got you. Because they sure don't call it in high school.
No, they don't call it. They don't call palming the basketball, but that's a whole other show there. I guess the biggest surprise, Arkansas beating St. John's. I guess Arkansas is the lowest seed left, a number 10. But it's hard to look at John Calipari as an underdog. You know, he's been at the top of the world for many, many years, but that's probably been, I guess, the biggest surprise. And as far as best game, you know, I guess you'd have to say that Maryland-Colorado State game simply because it's been the closest one so far.
Well, I was really looking forward to the Arkansas St. John's matchup, and what was funny about it is Arkansas beat Kansas. You know, the couple days before, another Hall of Fame coach, Calipari beat, and then he goes in there and he beats another one. On Saturday, I guess it was when they played. But I didn't think they played that well. I thought that they didn't rebound well at times, and they didn't shoot the ball. I mean, they're a very streaky team, but boy, when they started shooting, of course, now the best shooting performance I've seen, Shawn, and I guess I'm a little favorite toward this, but Ole Miss shot the daylights out of the basketball yesterday. I've never seen a team shoot as well as they did and have 6 double-figure scores against a very good defensive team in Iowa State.
Yeah, the North Carolina game, they made, 6 of their first 7 3-pointers and got the big lead and, held on there in the second half. And I think yesterday they were down about 8 real early and then pretty much dominated the last 30 or so minutes of the game. They've shot it extremely well, and, they've got a great shot in the next game against Michigan State. Michigan State has Tom Izzo, who is along with Calipari, he's the guy, the coach that has the most, accolades over the years. You could always pick Michigan State in a tournament, and they're going to do well for you. But I was looking, Chris Felica, the guy they call the Bear, he said a little comment this morning. He said since 2018, there have been 5 instances of a 2 seed favored by 3 points or fewer in the Sweet 16. And 2 seeds have lost 4 of those 5 games, including twice where it was a Chris Beard coached team that pulled the upset, and that was when he was at Texas Tech in 2018, and they beat Purdue by 13 as a 2-point underdog. And the following year, they beat Michigan by 19 as a 2-point underdog. And it just so happens, I think Ole Miss is a 3-point underdog going into the game this week. So he's certainly been there before. And, this isn't the Magic Johnson Michigan State team. It's a good team. It's not a power. In fact, watching that Ole Miss game yesterday, they had the big lead, and you flipped over to the New Mexico-Michigan State game, and New Mexico was up by 10. And I said, looks like Ole Miss, if they beat Iowa State, they could play New Mexico in the next round. But Michigan State came back and won. So, it should be a very interesting ball game, very close game between Ole Miss and Michigan State Friday night.
Yeah, you look for all close games just about from here on. It's, it's like single digits outcomes. But, thing I guess Ole Miss has working for them, they are going to play in Atlanta. It's not hard to get there if you want to be there. And, they played in a venue that they've played in probably several times over the years in that State Farm Arena. So, they've got, they may have a little home field advantage as far as fans. Of course, Atlanta's easy to get to. You just hop on a plane, you're going to be there about an hour from anywhere on the East Coast, and things
That's
like
right.
that. So, who was your, maybe your top 4 that you thought would meet in the Final Four to start this tournament? Did you have any surprises?
Well, not really. Well, I had Michigan State up there on, I guess, one of my brackets. They're still in it. Everybody was picking Florida. They were fortunate to win yesterday against Connecticut, but they're still there. Of course, Duke is probably playing better than anybody, and they're going to be a hard team to beat in their East region. And the other one, Houston's up there, but I just they've always been a very good defensive team. They don't score it as well as some of these other teams. They're better this year than they have been, but you might look for a Tennessee maybe to come out of that region. But like we say, all the top seeds are still there, and I believe, like we said, I think what we had, all the top 4 seeds of each region got out of the first round. So not a lot of surprises, mostly chalk, as they say, coming into this Sweet 16 week. And it's going to be, you're going to have all the top teams. All the top teams going at it, so I don't know who's going to come out on top. Right now, it's going to be hard to go against Duke. I think they have the best player probably in the country, in Cooper Flagg, and they're really shooting the lights out. And they've got that. They still have that blue blood name behind them, so they're going to be a hard team to beat. I think over the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
it should be interesting. I was reading something the other day, and you may want to clarify me if I'm going the wrong way on this. But SEC had 14 men's teams in the tournament. Is that correct? 14.
Right.
All right. So somebody was bragging about it, the other day that the SEC's got 7 in the Sweet 16, and then somebody else put on the post that I was reading said, yeah, but 5 of them got ousted in the first round to set a new record from the one conference. So, you got the good with the bad, and I guess the good, the bad, and the ugly, and things like that. Listen, we couldn't really end the show talking about the NCAA without talking about the women's. Ole Miss and State are still in it. Ole Miss has advanced to the Sweet 16. They pulled a minor upset yesterday in beating Baylor at Baylor. And Mississippi State's got their hands full tonight. Of course, Ole Miss will have their hands full in Seattle Friday night. They got to go against I think it's UCLA. And Mississippi State plays USC tonight, Monday night. This show is taped on Monday for Tuesday playing, but so we don't have the results of the Mississippi State Lady Bulldogs. But both of those have had pretty good years, right?
Yeah, I guess Ole Miss has been pretty much up there all year. I think they had high expectations coming into the year, and winning those first 2 games in Waco certainly is a good achievement for their program and puts them in the limelight some. Mississippi State's been up and down. They've lost some games that they really shouldn't have lost, and I don't know how they even managed to get in the tournament, honestly, but they were able to beat California. USC's got a different story. They're going to have a hard time playing them in Los Angeles. Hopefully they can keep it a close game. They played South Carolina and Texas. I know they played Texas very close late in the year and had South Carolina fairly close with about 10 or 12 minutes to go, but South Carolina kind of blew them out there at the end. But, Ole Miss and State, they've been pretty solid in women's basketball here the last few years, and see how far they can go.
Well, like I said, both of them had pretty good years. Tell us about your Jones Bobcat men. I know they're supposed to play. Like I said, this show is airing at Tuesday nights at 6 here on the local and on the YouTube channel.
Right.
Tell us about the Jones Bobcats basketball team. Man, they've run off 50-some wins the last 2 years, and they're going back to the national tournament. That hadn't been done very much back-to-back years going to the national tournament.
Yeah, that's quite an achievement. Newton Mealer, he's in his 4th year at Jones. I believe he's 91-29 in his 4th year, and Jones is 30-3 right now. I believe about a 17-game winning streak, if I'm not mistaken. That's a school record for victories at this moment. Jones is playing Angelina, Texas, in their opening game right now in Hutchinson. Angelina defeated South Georgia College 87-70 on Sunday. Jones drew a bye in the first round. The Bobcats, very good shooting team. They've got 4 guys that can fill it up, and Kai Purnell and his twin brother Demp Purnell from Horn Lake. They both signed with Texas State. A pair of 6'3" guards, very, very good players. Another 6'3" guy is L.J. Hackman out of Columbus. he went to high school in Memphis, but he's from Columbus. He is 6'3" guard. He kind of runs the show. He's already signed with Southern Miss. And then we have a 6'7" freshman forward from Terry, Avery Thomas II, and outstanding player. He can shoot it as well from the outside. He's already been offered by numerous D1 schools, including South Florida, Bowling Green, and some others. And he's on the national stage this week, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot more offers this week while he's in Kansas. Our fifth starter at the start of the year was a young man named Kylan Howe, 6'9" sophomore out of Gulfport, and he broke a finger a couple of months ago, and he's kind of had to play through that. And we've started a guy mostly since then, bringing Kylan off the bench. We've started a 6'5" guy named A Million Bugs. That's his name.
That's awesome.
A Million Bugs. Everybody calls him Millie. He's a 6'5" dude that he's from Chicago originally, and he transferred to Jones from Hutchinson Junior College.
Oh.
He was there last year. So he's going back to where he was last year. He's a great athlete. He's a extraordinary jumper. He can jump through the roof of the gym, as they say. Jones is a great shooting team. If they can rebound well this week, I think they've got a shot. That's the whole key with them. They're not a tall team with those 6'3" guard, those 3 6'3" guards that they start. So it's going to be all about rebounding, and hopefully they can do that and make a nice run into the tournament. I know Coach Mueller is very optimistic. He's very excited about their chances this week.
Shawn, this is Marshall. We've covered a lot of ground, and we appreciate that and appreciate you being with us tonight. But unfortunately, we're about out of time. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate that. I'm going to ask you to hold on just a minute. Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be back with tonight's final segment right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's final segment, A Million Bugs.
I like it.
Man, I think I may change my name. Probably to, a million. Maybe I just like 1,000 bugs.
Yeah.
I'm probably not.
Well, let me tell you something. Of course, everybody knows, including you, I think.
You give me too much credit, Dale. Don't go there.
My last name is McKee.
Yeah.
So I have a grandson, and I kept suggesting a first name for the grandson before he was born. And it went on deaf ears, and they did not name him what I wanted to name him.
Let's hear it. What's his? Okay, and this would be what was his last name? McKee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you had your first name picked out.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Cash with a K.
Cash McKee.
Cash McKee.
Man,
that's a movie star name, isn't it?
It's a movie star name. I may change my name to Cash.
Well,
McKee.
they said they couldn't do it because a friend of theirs named their child Cash. And they were trying to get a different name, and they wanted their name, separate and all that, and so so it really didn't hurt my feelings. But I kept going back to the Seinfeld episode of George wanted to name his son Seven. Seven.
Yeah.
Seven.
That's about like Cash.
Seven. But I couldn't handle seven, but I could handle Cash.
Well, I think I'm going to just start calling you Cash McKee.
No, that's all right.
I'm going to go with it. It's too late. Hey, the cat's out of the bag. The cash is out of the bag, baby. Dale, let me ask you something. Is this the most success from the NCAA basketball tournament point of view that the SEC has ever had? I mean, they've had.
Well, they
just about all of them went, didn't it?
Yeah, just about. But the thing about it is, what you don't understand, the SEC has put great
NIL money.
Well, I don't say NIL money, but they've been the home office. The SEC said, "Hey, if you want to get good in basketball, let's get good." We gonna start doing things like you gonna play a Big 12 team every year, or you gonna be playing an ACC team. You're not gonna be playing, the University of Minnesota at Edinburgh or anything like that. You're going to be playing top nights, non-conference teams. We're going to have a matchup for you. We're going to make the matchup, If you want to have a basketball. Well, what you don't understand is the history of the SEC. We haven't had a SEC champion crown the NCAA champion since Kentucky in 2012. So it's a 13-year drought. Yeah. So we keep hollering. I heard the Ole Miss girls, and I think even the Ole Miss men fans hollering in the stands the other night, SEC. What? I mean, it's great to be in the tournament, but if you really want that SEC dominance, you need to think about the football there for a while when we really were rolling.
Well, I was just wondering, because I know the SEC, it is historically the big deal in football in the country. And, the NIL has changed a lot of things, in football. And I was just wondering, since this meteoric rise, in my opinion, which that could be a misclassification of the SEC in terms of NCAA tournament participation, I just wondered if these NIL consortiums are like, you have success on one sport, maybe that fuels the fire for another one. I just didn't know what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I think it does. We talked to I talked to a coach several years ago, and I don't know if it's on this show or not, but he was an assistant coach from Jones Junior College. Remember when Jones was winning in baseball and they were winning in women's basketball and men's basketball when Ladner was down there, and like he said, Missy Belder back, and then the baseball team under Coach Oz down at Southern, he was coaching at Jones, and they were going to the national tournament. It puts pressure on the other sports. Yesterday in the post-game interview, the Ole Miss Lady Rebels coach said, listen, it's great for us to have the Sweet 16 for both of our men's and women's team. That's not done very often, especially in the same season. She said our football season wasn't bad. She said, our softball teams already won 20 games. Our rifle team is national champions. She just went on and won about the other sports, I think winning breeds winning. Jones used to call themselves Wintersville. Yeah. Instead of Ellisville, it's Wintersville. Yeah. Well, that made
success begets success. So
they say. It just rubs off on people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And Tennessee is a few years ago. Tennessee wasn't dominant in football. They weren't dominant in baseball or basketball. They had lost their luster in the basketball, and now they're all back. Yeah. All right. And I think it does get contagious. Yeah. It's kind of like the flu.
There you go. Well, another thing that's kind of like the flu is we're running out of time. So,
really?
We're out of time, Dale. Listen, I enjoy being with you every week. We appreciate all that you do to make this show happen, because this is you do it, and we appreciate it. We thank you for it. We thank our guests for being with us tonight, and you listeners. We appreciate you. We want to ask you, let you know that you can follow us, on our Facebook page, the Brouhaha. All the shows are cataloged where you can listen to them on demand on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.